going on, Nick?
Guys, it's good to be with you.
Good to have you as always.
So, Nikki, I made the point coming off the last segment that Jordan Poole's minutes have been going down drastically. His shot attempts have been going down. And this ongoing theme that it seems like he was in the core last year, but now it feels like due to the season not having a gooder season, like all this tension between him and Draymond Green. Like I talked about the pivotal Game 6 where they got smacked against Sacramento at home, where Draymond's trying to talk to him. He takes his arm away from Draymond. Steph walks over to him, barks at him, comes back, daps up Draymond. Like, and even him after the game the other day where he's like, I'm just not getting the same opportunities. It feels like it's a point of contention. Do you get the gist of that when you watch this team play?
100%. And, Jay, I think the point is really well taken because the tension is palpable. You can feel it when you watch. And having covered that team the last 3.5 years before coming to New York, the thing that defined Jordan Poole all along was confidence. And when you see a guy who is that confident usually on the floor, take 4 shots, miss them all, play 10 minutes, and then not want to talk or go through the motions that come with being a big star for a name brand team and a guy who just signed for $100+ million, those are all major red flags. So I don't know what happens in the next game or two if they can extend this thing, but it just doesn't feel like Jordan Poole is long for that Warriors group and core long term.
And it always feels like, too, like this team is an egoless team. Like that's what always made Steph so great. That's why you can, Kevin Durant, you want to play with us? Come on. Like, and then that turned out to be a little bit of a challenge because the ego of KD, right? And now we're seeing like a new addition, a younger pup that got paid to be one of the guys, but it's still like it doesn't fit into the egoless core of Draymond, Steph, and Clay. You can't really say egoless when it comes to Dre, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Within that core, now you're adding an additional one. It's tough.
There's no more rhythm right now.
Yeah.
That's when you see, when you watch the Warriors, you see a team that knew exactly where everybody was going to be. They knew how the locker room was going to operate. And, Jay, this is why the conversation about what happened in training camp with Draymond and Poole has risen back to the forefront. Because the second that punch got thrown and connected, it altered things within the locker room. There's no denying it. But it seemed like everybody kind of moved past it. But the second that Poole hasn't been able to perform at the same level, and you're watching him kind of look around the floor going, do I really trust these guys? Do they really trust him? That's what happens when things go bad.
Nick, being around the team and having covered the team, like you said, over the last several years, did that missed shot, that big missed shot by Poole, kind of intensify, so to speak, the scrutiny that this young man is under right now?
Yeah, it didn't help at all. Now, Poole was doing what he felt was right in the moment, even if everybody's going, well, you should have given it to Steph and you should have waited for a better shot with 10 seconds left. But this is the issue when you're not hitting those shots. If you're Jordan Poole, you haven't built up the credibility of Clay and Draymond and Steph and that core. He played well at times, certainly in the postseason, and he helped them win that title last year. But he hasn't had the years under his belt within this group to continue to get the benefit of the doubt. And, again, when you start seeing a guy have the body language on the go in the summer, is he elsewhere?
Like I feel like Golden State's going to win tonight versus the Lakers, but I feel like Jimmy Butler's going to come here and close this thing out tonight. Do you have that sense?
Jay, Jimmy Butler is an absolute killer on the floor. He wants to rip a team's heart out and end it. On top of the fact that it's gotten lost in the shuffle because Miami played so well in those last 2 games down on South Beach, but Jimmy's ankle still isn't great. I mean, he got some rehab on it. He looks better, but he'd love nothing more than to get a few days rest, more rehab, going into a potential Philly series right now, or if Boston turns this thing around in Game 6. So he's got the instinct to end it, but I am right there with you. I was sitting in that press conference room the other night, and when Julius Randle goes, maybe they want it more than us, you know that Tibbs' head, as he's reading that quote off his phone a few minutes later, going, what did he just say? When you start hearing that, and you've lived this way more than I have, but when you hear that kind of stuff, coming out of a locker room that is frustrated, that they don't have an answer. I mean, the issue to me watching this series is the Knicks are tough, Miami's tougher. The Knicks are physical, Miami's a little more physical. The Knicks will outwork you. Guess who outworks them a little bit more? The Heat. There are issues with a team that is based on outworking and out-toughing somebody, and they've met their match on top of the fact that they have the ultimate trump card in Jimmy.
I just can't stop thinking about the fact that there's really no reason that Jimmy Butler shouldn't still be on the Sixers, right? Like, could you imagine that team? And it's really because it's not they didn't choose Tobias Harris over him; they chose Ben Simmons over him.
Simmons
at the time.
and Harris.
It was really Simmons. They wanted to make it his team. But could you imagine if instead of Tobias Harris, that's Jimmy Butler with James Harden and Joel Embiid
Can I just
and Tyrese Maxey? And they would win, what, 2-3 chips right now? I mean, come on.
If Ben Simmons plays for the Australian national team this year, I'm going to take my computer and throw it in the East River.
Well, listen.
I'm gonna lose my damn mind.
We will likely get, at this point, Jimmy Butler against the Sixers. Nick Friedel, ladies and gentlemen.